Welcome into this Tuesday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal, McCready, Clark Ford Studio. Today we'll talk some college football, good bit of college football actually. Also tonight, Ole Miss and Tennessee play basketball in Oxford, 6 o'clock start for that one. We are using that reason to talk to Blake Toppmeyer of the Knoxville News-Sentinel here coming up, probably in segment 2 on the show. But we'll cover a lot of football, plenty going on with Tennessee with that. So that more on the podcast, on the stream here with you. It's brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford. Download the Speed Pass Plus app. Use it. Take advantage of it because it's a great way to earn points and save money there with the Oxford Exxon. You also can enjoy a lunch special inside the Blue Sky here in Oxford. $5.69, 2 sides bread, 32-ounce drink, and more. So take advantage of that again at the Blue Sky. And we're coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is that number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for, and he'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. Right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is up to you. You can shop that quote around, or you can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. 662-257-1900. Guest, join us on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline today. That guest will be Blake Toppmeyer. He covers Tennessee for the Knoxville News-Sentinel. He'll join us to talk about the Vols and whatever else might come up. Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford be a great place this weekend for college basketball. Ole Miss is at Auburn Saturday afternoon. I think it's a 3 o'clock start, so you could hang out there on Saturday as you get ready for your Saturday evening. And then, of course, there's an NFL game on Sunday that a lot of people typically watch. And you could watch that at Rafters as well. Burgers, po' boys, appetizers, great beer selection, full bar, the whole deal there at Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford and also in New Albany.
So where do we start today? What are you going to talk about?
Well, I mean, you're the one just breaking bad news all over the place today.
Yeah, I don't cover recruiting, and it's much more fun when you come in with like positive information. You go, "Hey, I heard something. Here you go. It's whatever." But
yep.
Yeah, Tywone Malone obviously making his decision tomorrow. I think 3:15 ESPN is the determination now, right? It's been moved around a little bit. It was CBS at one point, like 11, and then
I don't know.
I think it's like 3 o'clock ESPN.
I'm going to break some news. He's going to sign a piece of paper at about 8 o'clock in the morning.
He is. That is correct, yes. He's not going to wait till 3:15.
We're all going to play this game. But
he signs a blank sheet of paper at 3:15 tomorrow is what he does. So point being, hearing a lot of A&M buzz, and I was dreading it for a couple different reasons when I posted it. One is I don't typically like making subscribers angry or upset. I mean, try to be happy people around here. We try to cultivate a positive experience for you guys, our customers at therebelgrove.com. And
we also try to be honest.
We do. I guess my point being, where this one is a little different, even though if he does sign with A&M tomorrow, it gives off a different result, is a lot of times, and we've tried to be careful. We've been pretty good about it, probably to a fault. Even when we're going, hey guys, like anything could happen at the last minute. I know it feels like that carpet pulled out from under people, but Neal and I have had a conversation multiple times where I've felt weird about A&M the whole time. I refuse to say Ole Miss is for sure have gotten it done at any point. And a lot of it is this reason. I think that from a baseball side, I think Ole Miss was the choice, is the choice. I think that's been known for quite a while. But when it's a football scholarship and it's a player that's much more talented at football, I was just waiting on football to kind of take center stage. And it looked like that the lack of a defensive line coach, and frankly, again, you never hire a coach over one recruit, but the defensive line coach not being Marquise Watson was something that Ole Miss had to overcome, however you want to phrase it. And I think that happening so late in the process on Thursday with Joyner, I think that was probably a negative. We'll see if they fixed it. We'll see what happens. I'm not saying sign with A&M tomorrow. I have no idea. But today I'm hearing a lot of football-centric A&M buzz, and the two things that tells me is that A&M basically focused on football throughout this thing. I mean, A&M was third in baseball the whole time. They never, frankly, even really tried. I mean, they said, yeah, you get a spot or whatever, but they did not put the effort in with Childress and those guys the way that Mike and Carl and some other people have from a baseball standpoint. And then two, it's that they kind of stuck with one set plan the whole time because there wasn't some of that turnover that has gone through with the football side of things, and I think that's kind of where it's sitting right now. Again, we'll see. Maybe it sounds a Ole Miss tomorrow, and we all laugh and do whatever. But as of right now, I don't know. There's a weird A&M feeling right now with me.
Well, I haven't posted it at all because I haven't covered it. Zach's covered it. I'm waiting to see what an Adam Friedman might say. If he starts parroting some of the things that I've heard this morning, I'll be like, uh-oh, they're in trouble.
Because nobody else no national or regional has moved a prediction, right?
No, the only thing that anyone's done is Adam Gorney has come out and said, hey, he thinks it's Ole Miss, but he wouldn't rule out A&M. Just a stutter step, And when you have a kid that doesn't talk much, you're left to rely on some other people. I just will say that I've sensed some optimism from Texas A&M type people today. Jimbo's building a force there. I mean, he is building an absolute monster in College Station. Credit where credit is due. He knows how to do it, and he's doing it. They went 10-1, 10-1 last season. The one loss was at Alabama. You can ignore that if you'd like. Everybody kind of comes up with all these excuses. They did it with the kind of an average quarterback in Kellen Mond, and they're poised to become a power. And I'll wait and see what happens tomorrow, because I don't feel any confidence in saying that I think Tywan Malone's going to Texas A&M. I've said Ole Miss all along, and right now my confidence level on Ole Miss is it's still I'd bet on Ole Miss, but it's close.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's not necessarily that I'm overly confident in A&M. I'm just not overly confident in Ole Miss. When we used to do confidence ratings.
Ole Miss didn't close this.
No, they didn't close
well at all.
Well, they didn't close. They might get him, but they didn't put a nail.
But I mean, they didn't finish this game well.
No.
I mean, everybody likes baseball analogies. They didn't bring the closer out in the ninth inning and just go boom, boom, boom.
No.
They brought the closer out in the ninth, and he gave up a walk, and then a single, and then there was an error, and now he's wild. You've already brought the pitching coach out, but hey, it's all good.
Yeah.
We got a lead here. Let's just throw some strikes. But you know how ninth inning begins to feel like, uh-oh. Ooh, our guy doesn't have it tonight.
And maybe they get a pop-up. And
maybe they do, but it feels like they're going to have to get one of those where the ball gets scorched to the shortstop.
It's hanging, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and it's a 6-4-3, and it's woo.
That was close.
Yeah. Closer X didn't have his stuff tonight. We got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of feels like that. It doesn't feel like Ole Miss's closer has his stuff tonight.
And heading this off, Tywan Malone, it's just a recruiting battle, so none of the other stuff. This is not that kid.
No.
That's
not. Everybody's going to want to do that kind of stuff, and I've heard that consistently from day one.
Yeah, it's not. And frankly, it's almost – you know what I mean here. There's some nuance that has to be taken in this sentence. That was almost kind of a negative for Ole Miss because of how much the defensive line coach did matter. You know what I mean? Like in a lot of situations, okay, whatever. Sounds great. But on this one, there needed to be that whatever. And then, again, I'm not putting this at the feet of Randall Joyner by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, it just didn't. It didn't feel like the last 5 days went the way that Ole Miss would have liked it to, given that they had the big Zoom on Thursday and you're waiting on Wednesday and you're trying to finish this thing. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, again, it could go a number of directions. Not picking A&M. As I was telling Neal, we used to do these confidence meter things. We would like pick a kid and we go, okay, how confident are you? 0 to 100, and we'd pick like 0 on the confidence. Somebody goes, so you don't think it's going there? It's like, well, no, it like. 0 is still like 50% overall. It means it's 50.1 if I'm picking a school or whatever. It's still the favorite, but I have no confidence. That's kind of where I am. I mean, I think I would.
But you're asking me if I'd put money on it. The answer is no.
No gun to head. Guns to head.
A week ago, I probably would have.
If you told me right now to pick, it would be picking A&M with a 0% confidence, where I just go, hey, I don't know, but sure, if you want me to throw a guess in, I'm going to say the Aggies. And I think maybe you think the other direction, and we're whatever. Both of us looking at one another.
It's really close. I'm coin flip area right now.
So. I
mean, if football is his priority today, I'm betting on A&M because I think they've done a better job recruiting him from a football standpoint. I do, and I'm sorry. Everybody will shoot back at me and kill me, and Someone will take that and turn it into a voice message and send it to somebody. That's just what I gather. Ole Miss didn't close this with much momentum in football. And a lot of Ole Miss's approach, and a lot of this was COVID related. A lot of this there's nothing you could do about it, but a lot of Ole Miss's approach on his visit weekend was baseball stuff. And so if it's not a baseball decision.
Well, and his only, they had the visit the other day, but his only, real hardcore visit was almost all baseball back in the spring.
Right.
Like the one back in March against Xavier, Princeton, or whoever it was almost playing. Yeah, I don't know. 24 hours, 20
Yeah, and everybody
hours.
in the stream's doing the $ thing, and I'm just telling you it's not. But, when nothing that we tell you is going to make you believe that. So it's We've
covered plenty of those.
It's one of the reasons I don't. I'm glad that we've been able to create some revenue streams for Zach and covering recruiting, because I hate it. Because you tell people the truth and they fight back on it so much that and I get it. It's okay. It's fine. It's no big deal. It's like people, I get it now almost on a daily basis. I know you do too, because you talk to a lot more people around here than I do. Hey, what do you hear on Arch Manning? And I don't know. There's a lot there, but nothing that makes me go, oh yeah, pencil him in the 2023 class.
Done.
You don't hear that. I hear a lot of buzz about a couple other schools more than I hear Ole Miss. Do I think Ole Miss is in it today? I do. Do I think Ole Miss is a shoe-in? I don't. Would I bet on Ole Miss if you offered me Ole Miss versus the field? If I offered you Ole Miss versus the field on Arch Manning, you would take the field.
Yeah.
I'd take the field.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean he won't go to Ole Miss? No.
I would take Ole Miss if I had to pick one school. But because I don't know who, sure. Yeah, I would take Ole Miss if I had to pick one school for Arch Manning. Because I don't have a great other school.
I'd have 3 schools in my mind that I would be thinking about as that one school, and Ole Miss would be one of those schools.
Yeah.
If you offered me 3 schools versus the field, and I could have Oklahoma, Georgia, Ole Miss, or the field, I'm in. Give me those 3. But if you offer me Ole Miss versus the field today, I take the field. Because there's 3 or 4 schools that have just as good of a shot as Ole Miss, in my opinion, so give me the odds.
Yeah, 4 schools all with 25%. I get one in the field. I get 75.
I get 75, not 25. So yeah, if we're drawing straws and I get 75 of the straws and you get 25 of the straws, well, I might lose, but the odds are in my favor.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point. I think if you told me because of the lack of, I think Ole Miss has the least, and when I mean this is just because they're always going to be a constant in his recruitment to some extent. I think they have the least amount of overall volatility. Whereas a lot of other schools could kind of come in and out and pique interest in different things. So yeah, with Arch again, and if I say, hey, there's 3 schools in it, and I'm give Ole Miss a 40% chance, well, that's still 60% chance that I'm wrong. So anyway,
yeah,
I don't know. We'll talk about some other things as we come up. We got about 10 before Blake. Is that right?
Yeah, about 10 minutes.
Okay, so we'll pay a couple bills. We'll come back, talk a little more football, tell you about community mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. So you're getting a little underwriting and understands your market, a leader in condo financing, the float down option, and more. You can find Jason at 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
We're also brought to you by The Rogue. The Rogue, your destination for fine men's clothing. Their stylists hand-select pieces from top designers, from work to lifestyle to nightlife. There's the perfect something for everyone. The Rogue has all the best items from Peter Millar, Martin Dingman, Jack Victor, Halsey, True Grit, Duckhead, and more. 4450 I-55 North in Jackson or therogue.com. You can also reach The Rogue at 601-362-6383. We are also brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans. Blue Delta Jeans makes the best fitting, most comfortable jeans in the world because they are uniquely made for you and only you. Raw denim jeans, custom fit and hand tailored in Tupelo, Mississippi. One size fits all at one size fits one, not one size fits all. Yeah. One size fits one at BlueDeltaJeans.com. You hear a phrase so many times in your life, your brain automatically finishes it for you. They're trying to be creative with the ad copy here, and it's very creative, and I screwed it up because my brain, as fried as it is, just reads one size fits, and I just go ahead and finish with all.
Yeah. It's the exact opposite of what we're trying to accomplish here.
One size fits one.
Yes.
At BlueDeltaJeans.com. Blue Delta has been advertising with us for the past 2 years. They're probably regretting it at this moment, but they have been. And they've always we've always directed you to DM them to set up a time to get measured. Now, whether you're coming to Oxford or not, you can visit BlueDeltaJeans.com to get measured by their new virtual tailor and design your own jeans. Just for our podcast listeners, enter the discount code Rebel Grove. That's all lowercase, Rebel Grove, at checkout. Take 10% off your order. They're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Chase feels the same way. Pretty much anybody who's ever had a pair feels the same way. And, yep, the virtual tailor absolutely works. It's incredible. We've benefited from it. You will too. BlueDeltaJeans.com, promo code Rebel Grove at checkout for 10% off your order. And we're brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, Grenada Nissan's the place to go. They've got a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Great lease deals as well. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com.
Podcast is brought to you by Northeast Spark. That's SPARC, standing for Service People Across Rural Communities. 2 different internet packages. The Ignite, that's a 100 Mbps, or Blaze, 1 gig. It powers the Clark Ford studio here. We've had no trouble internet-wise since the switch over. Your hometown team bringing you world-class broadband, of course, your nespark.com, nesparc.com, or 662-238-3159. Phone service available, as well as parental controls, network security, and more. So give them a call and see if they are in your area to get Spark to you again. 662-238-3159. So just a few minutes before Blake joins us, you were intrigued by a story Sports Illustrated did today.
Yeah,
about I've read most of it. I've skimmed all of it. We'll put it that way. About the transfer portal, about kids jumping in and having nowhere to go. We've talked about this a pretty good bit over the course of the last couple months, and it's fairly startling. Since August 1st, 1,500 players have entered the transfer portal, and that's just 200 players shy of the total number who entered the portal all of last cycle. And when I say that, I mean it's August 1st to July 31st, so way, way more. I mean, beyond what you would think. And here's the deal. It's skewed, and it's going to end up being a lot of guys who not just know where to go nowhere to go back, guys with just nowhere to go, because as we've talked about, this takes an initial qualifier spot. You got to have an area on the 25 for these kids to transfer, for there to be somewhere for them to go. And the simple math of it is that too many of your kids are leaving, and they're going to have nowhere but probably way down if they choose to go down levels or things like that. Otherwise, their football careers are probably over versus at least some of them, or a large number of them, having an opportunity to stay where they were and fight for a spot there.
It's got to be fixed. There's a number of proposals that Ross Dellinger mentions in that story that have been talked about. One is the one that makes the most sense, which means it'll never happen, which is for every kid that gets in the transfer portal from your school, that opens up a spot for you to take a kid out of the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to happen, because that truly makes it an NFL-style thing where you get cut. Now you cut 17 kids and go into the portal looking for kids. It creates,
how that goes.
Creates chaos. You know how that doesn't work. As much as people think that would work and that makes sense, that doesn't work. Going from instead of 1 year with 25, going to 2 year with 50, where you can manage it any way you want to. Where if you want to add 18 this year and then knowing next year's a big year, you want to take 32, you can do that. That's interesting. That's creative. Topping it at 10 transfer portal additions over a 2-year period or something is a proposal. Think that's got a chance. I do think it's very clear when the Greg Sankeys of the world say that we have to do something, that there's a sense throughout the sport that you have to do something. The other problem, we've talked about this a lot over the last 11 months of this nightmare. These kids who are coming back for essentially a 6th season still count against the 85.
Mm-hmm.
And down the road, all of these guys have been given, anybody that was on a roster was given an extra year of eligibility. How do you manage that over time? And everyone says, well, just don't let those guys count against the 85. Well, a lot of schools raise their hand and go, hey, we can't afford that.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, do what you got to do, but
that doesn't work.
That doesn't work for us at Northern Illinois, at Western Michigan, at Chattanooga. Hell, a place like a lot of SEC schools would be like, this hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. And then what are the Title IX ramifications of that? There's a lot there, a lot of stuff that has to get sorted out. And at some point, I think it's one of the reasons I have a question in my mailbag about, do you think basically, Neal, do you think the financial, I haven't answered it yet. Do you think the financial ramifications of what's happened over the last 11 months are going to force schools to go, you know what, screw it, fill up the stadium? Now, it doesn't work like that because state health organizations and such have a big say.
Sure.
But do I think there's pressure? Damn right.
Sure. A lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure to be like, hey, we got to fill up the stadium as much as we can. Because here's the other thing they don't even know. Schools don't even know if you could fill up your stadium, would you fill up your stadium? How many people have been so scared by COVID that they'll be like, I don't know. I don't know, honey. Let's not do that this year.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that everybody's just suddenly coming back in mass just because it's opened up. If anything, we've seen they're not, because, look at Ole Miss. So, and I get it was in the heat of it. I understand that it makes it different as things do open up and hopefully get better and vaccinations and whatnot. But beyond that, think about it. Ole Miss had 25% capacity in their stadium all fall. That would have netted, I forget the numbers, but whatever the number was, like $12.5 million in ticket sales and donations. If they just hit the 25%, and you've got Lane Kiffin, you've got people excited, you've got an offseason where we talked about, hey, 35, 40, 45,000 season tickets if everything was wide open and no pandemic happened. They didn't hit 25% for a single game. They averaged like 19, 20, 21%. So you're talking only 80% coming with the availability that was given during the fall. So, no, there's no guarantee that suddenly, hey, it's 98% capacity just because it's opened up.
Yeah. I was at Bud Walton the other night, and I had to go to Media Will Call to get the thing to go to Media Will Call. It's mostly my fault. But anyway, as I walked up to Will Call, these two men had come up to the gate looking for tickets, and they'd sold out at Bud Walton. They'd turned those people away. And I bring that up because it was one of the first times that people weren't able to walk up and get tickets at the end because they haven't been able to sell all of their tickets.
Sure, yeah.
And they're good. It's to your point, they've got some excitement around their program and stuff. So it still tells you that people are like, I don't know, man, am I going to do this? And then throw on top of that the number of people who've this last season were like, hey, man, going to a football game is not nearly as fun as it is being home here on the 82-inch screen that I bought in the middle of the pandemic. So long story short, yeah, there's a lot of issues about needing to get to a place where you can at least try to fill a stadium because of money. Mm-hmm. And the transfer portal is a complicated thing. All right, we're going to get Blake on. I'm going to get him on FaceTime, so everybody just kind of hang tight here. Let's see if he's already entered into my contacts.
Staying live, just going.
Yeah, we're going.
Hello, this is Blake.
Hey, Blake, Neal McCready, Chase Parham here with you. Really appreciate your time. How are you?
Good, you?
We're good. We're going to mostly talk football. I'll touch basketball like I told you I would real quick. Ole Miss and Tennessee tonight in Oxford, 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. The game can be seen on ESPN2. I know Tennessee kind of hit a little bump in the road a few weeks ago, but it certainly looks here lately like they've sort of kind of found themselves again and are playing up to the standard that they thought they would at the beginning of the year.
No doubt. This was a team that I think a lot of folks expected to be top 15 team this year, and at times that hasn't been reality. But most recently, in the victory over Kansas in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, I think that was more indicative of the expectations of this Tennessee team. You look at that game, and I think it showed some things that were expected of Tennessee all along in terms of the balance. You had 4 players in double figure scoring against Kansas. 6 players had at least 8 points in that game. Some of the veterans, Yves Pons and John Fulkerson, were leading the way there, but also, a young guy like Jaden Springer was in double figures as well. But then on top of that, the hallmarks of this group needs to be defense and rebounding, and you saw that against Kansas, especially on the glass. Tennessee rebounded very, very well. Nice game from John Fulkerson. I mean, a guy that has all-conference expectations on him. Thought he played well against Kansas. Pons did as well. Probably one of his better games this season. And yeah, I mean, just overall, it was kind of that balanced attack that really was expected of Tennessee, and I think showed what this team really is capable of.
Rick Barnes has made that Tennessee basketball program a very stable program, very, very solid, organized, upwardly mobile program that's always a threat. The same cannot be said for what's happened in football the last few years. What was this fall like covering that roller coaster?
Yeah, it was so strange because you go back to, I'll even take it back to, let's take it back 12 months. You know, at National Signing Day last February, Tennessee was riding high. They finished the 2019 season on a 6-game winning streak, including a win over Indiana in the Gator Bowl. And on National Signing Day a year ago, Philip Fulmer at a recruiting celebration roared that the Vols are back. I guess he just got swept up in the moment and was feeling giddy or something. But it seemed questionable to say then, because it's like, really, after an 8-5 season, you're ready to say the Vols are back. But then, you know, starting this year, Tennessee started the season 2-0 with wins over South Carolina and Missouri. Had an 8-game active winning streak at that point. That was actually the longest winning streak in the SEC active at that juncture. And so, you know, I mean, still everything was great. Jeremy Pruitt had just gotten a 2-year contract extension before the season started. And then the wheels fell off. And a 6-game losing streak matching the longest in program history. Calls for Pruitt's job, investigation into recruiting malfeasance that then ultimately leads to Pruitt losing his job. Philip Fulmer hangs it up as well. He wasn't fired, but retired. And so, yeah, in a year's time, it went from the Vols being back, allegedly, according to Fulmer, to now Fulmer and Jeremy Pruitt are unemployed, and the Danny White and Josh Heupel era is here, and just a reminder of how quickly you can go from the penthouse to the outhouse in college athletics in a short time.
Yeah, no doubt. And listen, we covered this NCAA thing at Ole Miss, and it from curtain to curtain, Blake, I think it was 6 years. So you're just kind of getting started on this. What are you? I know you hear everything, but I've read some of your work. You're very clearly very sourced and connected and level-headed here. What do you believe, to the best of your knowledge, is sort of the extent of what the NCAA is looking at? I mean, I hear these massive numbers of potential level 1 violations and that kind of thing, and a lot of times that's hyperbole, but here, I know it's in the early going, but if you had to sort of predict what was going to be in a notice of allegations, what would you be looking for?
I think we're going to see numerous level 1 or level 2 violations. I think, I think some of the things that you hear thrown around in terms of the specific nature of the violations, I wouldn't necessarily put all that much stock in those specifics, but I do think the violations are serious in number. And, I mean, you even go back to what Tennessee's chancellor, Donnie Plowman, said when firing Jeremy Pruitt. She called the evidence that this university investigation turned up, quote, stunning. Stunning in terms of the number of violations and stunning in terms of the number of people within the football program involved. Jeremy Pruitt fired for cause, 2 assistants fired for cause, 7 support staffers in either recruiting, player personnel, quality control fired for cause. And so that right there, I think, tells you that this has some seriousness to it. Now, some would say, there's one argument to this. Certainly Pruitt's attorney's argument is that this was pre-orchestrated in a way to get out of paying Jeremy Pruitt his buyout. Now, certainly, I'm not going to argue that wasn't part of Tennessee's motivation here as this investigation unfolded. I'm sure, at some point it occurred to them that, hey, if we're going to fire Pruitt, you can use this to to not pay his buyout and fire him for cause. I don't believe that Tennessee launched this investigation as a total fishing expedition to see how many level 1 and level 2 violations they could kick up. to try to get rid of Pruitt's buyout. I mean, that would just be foolish leadership at its pinnacle there to hammer yourself with violations just to get out of paying someone a buyout. But it's a really difficult needle to thread for Tennessee, because on the front end, you want to say, hey, there's a lot of serious stuff here. That's why we're firing these people for cause, because you kind of want to defend yourself on the front end as to why you're not paying these individuals buyouts. Why are you firing them? But then on the back end now, you have to play the song and dance with the NCAA and try to keep yourself from getting hammered with just crippling penalties. And so Tennessee's left themselves in a pretty difficult scenario. I think we're going to see. Certainly, Tennessee has acknowledged the possibility of self-imposed penalties, and if not, I think they can expect the NCAA to be much harsher on them. But as Ole Miss found, and I think Ole Miss is a good guidepost for what Tennessee can perhaps expect here in the way of penalties. Ole Miss found that you can self-impose, and that doesn't necessarily mean the NCAA will say, okay, sounds good, we'll leave it at that. They can come in over the top and issue more penalties. And so, yeah, I mean, I think even if you look at the wording of Josh Heupel's contract, it sort of speaks to the possible severity of the penalties when they're talking about, if there's a multiple-year postseason ban or multiple years of eight scholarship reductions, that he automatically gets a year added to his contract. And I'm sure that contract was devised with those possibilities in mind.
Yeah, Ole Miss learned the hard way that you can get on your knees and beg for mercy, and then don't be surprised when they kick you in the teeth. There's no guarantee that when you beg for mercy that you receive said mercy. I'm curious a little bit, Blake, and I promise we're not going to keep you long. I know you got a busy day. Do you know to this point how this sort of came to light? What led to the internal investigation? Was someone on Pruitt's staff disgruntled? How did this sort of come about?
We know the Chancellor's office received a verbal allegation of malfeasance occurring within Tennessee's football program. The Chancellor's office received that allegation on November 13th. As far as who that tipster was, we know it was someone who worked within the athletic department. Now, did that person specifically work within the football program versus outside the football program, just in athletics? I don't know that. I haven't confirmed that. But it did start with a tip from inside the athletic department to the Chancellor's office, and from that point, the investigation started. It started with the university's general counsel beginning the investigation. That's typically the way things go when something's brought to the Chancellor's office, is that it goes to the general counsel's office. And then within a week, Tennessee engaged outside counsel, the lawyers from Bond, Shanick, and King, which of course includes the well-known lawyer in these matters, Michael Glazier, who's made a career, about 30 years worth, out of representing universities when they find themselves afoul of the NCAA rulebook. So it dates back to November 13th. The investigation became public during Tennessee's regular season finale on December 19th with a report from a media outlet saying that this investigation was occurring. At that point, Tennessee did acknowledge an investigation, and then it ultimately led about a month later to Jeremy Pruitt's firing. So we're at about 2.5 months now. I think the university's investigation will probably wrap up within the month, is what I suspect. But as you noted, once the baton fully gets passed into the NCAA's hands, this could be a years-long process. I used to cover Missouri, and their academic fraud situation, I went back and looked. That started in November of 2016 and wasn't finally resolved until November of 2019. So not quite as long, I don't believe, as the Ole Miss situation, but still, you're looking at years-long processes here for the NCAA. Now, of course, if we're talking about self-imposed penalties, that might not be years down the road. That could be as soon as this year.
So late in the season, there were all these names that got brought about. Hugh Freeze's name popped up a lot. Help me here, Chase. Who were the other names that popped up a lot with the Tennessee job? We heard all these big names, and yet I never got the impression that any of that was real. Were you surprised that even after Danny White came from UCF, were you surprised that it ended up being Josh Heupel as the head coach at Tennessee?
I was a little surprised that it was such an inside-the-box hire because Danny White's track record is more so for making outside-the-box hires, and Danny White almost really bragged about that track record during his introductory press conference and saying, in my history making these hires, it's not people that were at the top of the hot board, it's not the obvious choice, et cetera. And you look back throughout the course of his career, and I think that's true. I mean, at Buffalo, he hired Division III coach Lance Leipold, and that proved to be a really, really good hire. At UCF, hired two guys that did not have head coaching experience, in Scott Frost and then Josh Heupel. Maybe not quite as outside the box as Lance Leipold, but still, probably not the name that was atop most people's hot boards in those situations, and three successful hires. But then you look at this choice. Josh Heupel was on my hot board before Danny White was even hired as AD. I thought he would be someone that would be a fit for this job. And then once Danny White was hired, it's like, well, yeah, obviously he's going to be on the hot board. That's the guy that was coaching for him the last 3 years. And so it was such an obvious move. When it comes to Hugh Freeze, I never really thought Hugh Freeze was going to be in play at Tennessee if this job opened because of Tennessee's side of things. And then once Tennessee, fired 10 individuals for alleged recruiting malfeasance within the program, at that point, I think that eliminated any possibility of kicking the tires on Hugh Freeze. And without specifically mentioning Hugh Freeze by name, University of Tennessee's system president made it quite clear to me from the onset of the search that they were not going to pursue candidates who had a history of NCAA rules violations or compliance violations. And I thought, that was an effective way of telling people right from the start of this search, without mentioning Hugh Freeze by name, saying, forget about it, folks. They're not hiring Hugh Freeze. They're not going to take their chances with the NCAA of saying, hey, take it easy on us. We're really sorry about these violations. Oh, by the way, we just hired Hugh Freeze. Can't you tell we're sorry? That wasn't going to happen. So ultimately, in Josh Heupel, I think if you take the AD out of the equation, the fact that his old boss hired him, I think Josh Heupel is probably about as good as Tennessee could have expected to do, given all the circumstances working against it in this hire, and foremost the investigation. But I think it felt a little uninspired to most people because it was Danny White making the hire. This guy that's made all these unconventional hires throughout the course of his career. I think people were expecting something to come out of left field and really get him excited. And then, in the end, I think it was a decent hire, but it was the hire that was right in front of everyone's nose all along.
Have they calmed down? Fan base calmed down a little bit?
It's so interesting because there's like Vol Twitter and then there's the fan base. And
Okay,
so
fair enough. All right.
has Vol Twitter calmed down? I'm not sure. I don't know if Vol Twitter will ever calm down.
Yeah.
But I reached out to a bunch, over 200 Tennessee fans last week to get, not through Twitter, through other means, to get their response to the hire. And they weren't all riled up. It was mostly like, it's okay. We'll give them a chance. We'll be cautiously optimistic type of response. I think most rational fans, and I know rational fans sometimes isn't some two words you can use together, but there are some out there. I think those folks realize that there was a lot working against Tennessee in this situation. I mean, the threat of penalties, combined with the lack of recent success, combined with the stage in the calendar, you're hiring this position, all those things added up. You weren't going to get a who's who of college football, I think, saying, yeah, where do I sign on to this? So I think there is some understanding there. And I think anytime there's a coaching change, it kind of offers a reason to feel some sense of optimism. Certainly there's the portion of the fan base that was not going to be happy with anything shy of Hugh Freeze or Lane Kiffin or John Gruden. But I think there also is kind of a quiet majority out there that seems to accept that given the circumstances, this is about the caliber of hire you can expect.
So I know there's a bunch of guys that have jumped into the transfer portal. We were talking about transfer portal in general earlier. Some signees have indicated that they might ask to get out of their letter of intent, et cetera. At the end of the day, if you had to guess, what kind of a roster does Josh Heupel work with in the fall?
Not a very good one. When Jeremy Pruitt was hired here, it was so easy for everyone to kick Butch Jones while he was down. Butch, his popularity rating was really in the toilet on his way out of Knoxville, and so everybody was willing to throw any sort of blame on him. And one of the criticisms you heard of Butch Jones, which I think was probably fair, was that he didn't leave the roster in a great shape for Jeremy Pruitt. Well, you look at what Josh Heupel inherits, and I think it's worse. I think it's notably worse than what Jeremy Pruitt inherited from Butch Jones. And a big reason for that is the number of players that left for the transfer portal. If Heupel would have inherited, all the players that would have otherwise come back to Tennessee, I think he would have stepped into a better situation than Pruitt did. But given the number and some of the top talent that left Tennessee for the transfer portal, this is a pretty bleak roster, I think, for next season. Now, the caveat to that is I do think Heupel offers you a way to kind of scheme around some offensive deficiencies. I think he'll help this offense. Pruitt made a mess of the quarterback situation for 3 years. I think, if you're making a pro-con list, I think Josh Heupel's hire is great for Tennessee's quarterbacks. I look for that position, and Tennessee actually does have a pretty deep quarterback competition. That's one position that hasn't really been hurt by departures. And so offensively, and I think Josh Heupel also is proven at being able to scheme up ways to make your offensive line look a little better than they really are. Even going back to his time as an offensive coordinator at Missouri, he was very successful in that. But you just look at the depth and that the situation on defense. I really think that it's going to be an uphill battle for Heupel in year one, and honestly, maybe even spilling into year two, because that the players that left in the transfer portal, I mean, it was really a gut punch for Tennessee in terms of number and in terms of caliber of player who opted to leave.
Well, listen, we really appreciate the time today. Again, Ole Miss and Tennessee tonight on ESPN2. I think the line on the game's like 4 points, which I don't understand. But after looking at I had my stock market portfolio up a little bit ago that I'm playing with on E-Trade. I don't think now's the time for me to take Tennessee minus the 4. That would nothing that I'm touching is working right now, Blake. So I probably should just leave it alone.
Maybe buy and hold.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's good advice.
All right, thanks for the time. Really appreciate it. Talk to you soon, I hope.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Bye. That was Blake Toppmeyer, Knoxville News-Sentinel. That's good stuff.
Yeah,
everybody says it's hard to find a level-headed UT rider.
We found one.
I did.
Yeah. Well, you had a huge list.
Kudos to me.
You don't think you could have picked anybody off the list?
No.
You couldn't just thrown a dart and grabbed one?
I sent some texts to some people going, here's what I'm looking for, and that was the one
I
name
get that question a lot about State. I'll get a lot of media people sending me texts going, hey, I'm not real sure who to talk to over there. Who do I talk to? And I go, so-and-so's fine. All right, yeah. Oh, Lord. Appreciate Blake for time there. Podcast brought to you in part by Tyson Drugs and G&M Pharmacy. They still got the immune support med packs. Pharmacists deliver combinations of vitamins and supplements designed to boost your immune system and lung health. 30-day supplies of vitamin C, zinc, NAC, probiotic, and vitamin D3. They all work together. Some of the best over-the-counter supplements to prepare your body for viruses. You can stop by Tyson Drugs in Holly Springs or G&M on South Lamar in Oxford. That's 662-236-2222, and they deliver locally in the Oxford area.
We're also brought to you by Alpha Specialties, located at 1670 Highway 80 in Pearl, Mississippi. It's your trailer-specific professional. If you want to haul it, they can call it. It's the premium trailer dealership in Mississippi. They've got Load Trail. They've also got Hallmark cargo trailers, one of the most quality cargo trailers on the market. They can even work with third parties to have game day trailers and concession trailers built. They've got deals for podcast listeners, spare tires and wheels starting at just $100, a full selection of trailer parts and accessories, hitches, winches, straps, and more. They also do all types of truck accessories. Listeners can get 10% off a yearly trailer service and inspection at Alpha's full-service shop. They can repair all types of trailers, so give them a call, 601-932-9798, or check them out at alphaofms.com. We're also brought to you by the law firm of Bain, Moss & Bowen, located in historic downtown Corinth. Their firm practices a wider range of law, from DUI defense to car wrecks to representing government entities. Bain, Moss & Bowen's the only firm in Mississippi made up of a sitting state legislator, a former assistant district attorney, and a former circuit court judge. That experience is unmatched in that regard, and you can tap into it by visiting them at 618 East Waldron Street in Corinth, or by calling them at 662-287-1620. I'll have a mailbag up tomorrow. It's brought to you by Whitney McNutt of Tommy Morgan Incorporated Realtors, serving you for all your real estate needs in Oxford and Tupelo. 662-567-2573 or 662-842-3844.
So we finished the transfer portal conversation. You good there?
Yeah, I think so. Just something to keep an eye on, because I do think changes are coming. I don't think they're coming in this cycle. I think this is the year that a lot of kids get screwed. You're going to read a lot of sob stories, and I don't mean that in a non-empathetic way. But you're going to read a lot of stories about there's no place for this kid to go.
I don't know that kids are getting great advice on exactly what it looks like and how it works. It feels like this magical place that's suddenly going to help you out when it's not.
The people around them are giving them terrible advice.
Yeah.
The coaches, frankly, are giving them pretty good advice. Like, hey, look, I can't stop you from leaving. Understand, you need to have a place to go. And not everybody's going to have a place. And then some high school kids are going to lose opportunities. If there's a victim, if you want me to feel sorry for somebody, that's who I'm going to feel sorry for. Is the kid that would normally be the 24th or 25th signee at a Power 5 program.
Doesn't exist now.
That kid's having to go down a level. And those programs.
And that's trickle.
Yeah, because those programs, like the ULMs of the world, they're like, so let me see if I got this right. I can take some kid from West Monroe and put 3 years into developing him, or I can sign the backup strong safety at Mississippi State to come in and play for me. Mm-hmm. Who you think he's taking? So all of a sudden he's got this NFL free agent roster that can compete in the Sun Belt. And those kids lose scholarship opportunities.
In a year where the roster's already jam-packed with all the fifth years and guys back and all sorts of stuff. I mean, even beyond normal transfer portal rules, you've got issues right now on all of it. So
yeah, absolutely. So that's what you have to watch for. But I'm going to be hard-pressed to feel sorry for the kid who wasn't getting the playing time that he thought he should get at Auburn, for example. And he hops in the transfer portal, and there's nowhere to go. And next fall, he doesn't have a scholarship. Forget the football for a minute. That's what paid for his education. Mm-hmm. And now it's, oh, poor me. It's like, man, you maybe should have just stuck it out another year.
Because now you have nowhere.
You had a full scholarship to Auburn. Maybe you should have stayed at Auburn.
Yeah.
That's what's coming. And you're going to see those clashes. And the kid's going to go, well, I got lied to. Well, who lied to you? Because what happens is these people that are around programs call that kid, we'll use the Auburn kid, for example.
Sure.
They call his old high school coach, his old 7-on-7 coach, his Uncle Billy. Hey, we got a spot for you at wherever. And maybe in that one moment in time, they had a spot. But by the time it comes rolling around, they don't have a spot. And so now they're saying, well, you can walk on. And you're going to see some of that. You're going to see some guys that you would not imagine having to walk on under the promise of, if you'll walk on for a semester,
then we'll take care of you.
And it works out, and a spot opens up, we'll slide.
Essentially gray shirting you even as whatever.
Yep,
yeah.
A playing gray shirt.
Yeah. That
stuff's coming. You excited about the EA Sports thing? I know you're a big gamer.
Almost, this is, it's kind of funny. It's almost to a point of being embarrassed that I don't have any semblance of knowledge to it. Because I honestly, I was trying to think about this. If you take out Mario Kart Wii, which I guess that's not taking it out because it is gaming, but I played that with Dylan when he was younger. I haven't picked up a video game console since I was in college, probably, at all. I've never, honestly, I don't know that I've played a PS, whatever number you want to pick, or an Xbox, whatever their iteration they're on right now, since 2006. something like that. It's been 15 years.
I have on occasion, probably not in the last 2 years because Carson's now at that stage where he's too cool to play with me. But 2 years ago, maybe I would play like Madden against him or NBA 2K against him. And I never played enough to get even remotely good at it. But the last time that I played anything that was like where I really could play it was, like you said, on the Wii.
Yeah, if that counts. And then
yeah, I'd play Mario Kart with the kids, or we would play that game with you created the characters that looked like you or supposedly looked like you, and you'd play baseball or whatever. The kids loved
kind
that.
of a sim deal.
Yeah, when the girls were little, they loved that game.
But
that's it. I mean, I don't play all those games. And so,
yeah, I haven't played like a Halo or Grand Theft Auto or any of that kind of stuff since like college. Nothing. No idea.
Yeah.
Mario Kart with the wheel though was pretty fun.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was all right.
And Wii bowling was fun.
Okay, yeah. Well, I made it a pretty good ways in the Wii bowling media tournament at the Cotton Bowl in 08.
Yeah.
I had enough knowledge of it to kind of run through that a little bit for a little while.
I won a prize in that. I
Did
finished
you?
like second or third.
It's like the prizes were pretty good too. The Cotton Bowl gave us like
Oh, you could win a big TV.
it was TV. It was like navigation system. No. It was it was navigate like TomToms back then, like Garmin's or TomToms or whatever, and something else. Something else really random, like maybe like a radar detector or something. Still, were those still things in that? Because nobody's like doing fuzzbusters anymore.
No. Isn't that funny? Nobody has one of those anymore.
No, but I think that was what it was. I think maybe a radar detector.
Did you ever have one?
Yeah.
They'd make you nervous.
I don't know that they helped any, frankly.
If you got caught with one,
you're a problem.
yeah.
But you got enough time to like grab it, don't you?
Yeah, but they can see you grabbing, I guess. I guess you got to grab pretty quick and throw that puppy in the
While you're being
while he's turning around to come get you.
Yeah, immediately.
Yes.
Boom. Behind the seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a sports game. It's been a decade. Like a Madden or an EA or something. I mean,
When we were kids, we had Atari, and then we had Intellivision. One of the kids up the street, one of the kids whose parents were a little more free spending, he had an Intellivision. Well, I don't think we ever even had a Nintendo.
See, because
by then we were out of it.
I had a Nintendo, but I was really young. I mean, those things came out in like 85, 86. So I probably had a Nintendo at 5 years old, something like that. That's my guess, something like that. I was born in 83. So somewhere in
we played that Atari game with I can't remember the name of the football game, but Bo Jackson was untackleable. Tecmo Bowl. You could not.
Yeah,
Bo Jackson. Whoever had Bo Jackson
that was it.
won.
There were two players that you would win if you had them, and it was Bo Jackson. It was Lawrence Taylor. If you had the Giants, where he played outside linebacker, he just wasn't blockable. He just hits you and he tackles you, and it's over.
He sacked the quarterback every play, and he chased everybody down and made every play.
I looked it up a couple days ago for some reason that I'm not aware of right now. I don't remember why I did it, but the very first one, they came out with Super Tecmo Bowl later, which was very advanced. Had like 12 plays or something, but the first one was just the 4, and they said, hey, you can run or you can play defense, but all it was how close the defense guessed to the play you were running. So if you click the same play, you're getting hit in the backfield and it's whatever. But if they think you're running and you're throwing, well, the guy's wide open down the middle of the field. But yeah, Bo you can see the YouTube videos where he runs for like 8 or 9 minutes without being tackled, where he just does this.
And he was sort of like that in real life too for a while.
He had his moments.
He had his moments in the NFL where he was really like that. That day where he ran over Bosworth and ran through the tunnel at the Kingdome.
Yeah.
That was pretty epic.
That was a big deal back then.
Yes. I saw him hit a home run in person off Nolan Ryan that the ball went 480 feet.
He's completely healthy. Whoa. What does that career look like?
He would be the most famous two-sport athlete ever. He probably already is. He made All-Star games, and he would have been. He was an MVP candidate in the NFL. I mean, it's the equivalent of Patrick Mahomes going and playing shortstop for the Tigers. And at an all-star level.
Yeah. Did you see where they pointed out he played in one college baseball game and was terrible? Mahomes? Yeah, Texas Tech. He pitched in one inning, it looked like his whole career or something, and they played Northern Illinois in a 3-game set. Northern Illinois only scored in one inning the entire weekend, and it was the inning Mahomes pitched. He didn't score an out and give up like four runs.
Well, he made the right decision abandoning the baseball thing.
It makes you feel a little better because it's like we can't do everything. I mean, he sucks at that just like any of us would have sucked at that.
Well, it just tells you how good Bo was. Bo was incredible.
And that was an era where you would see it some too. You know, they let Deion do it. They let Brian Jordan do it.
Yeah. Well,
after that,
I mean, you had to be great.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Deion was a pretty good baseball player. I mean, if Deion had just focused on nothing but baseball, he would have been in the majors for a long time.
He was a Brave and a Red.
And did he play for the Yankees for a
Did he play for the
coffee?
Yankees? Okay.
And Brian Jordan was a hell of a football player too.
Yeah.
I mean, he made the smart decision because the longevity's in the Major League Baseball, and he made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, what would happen if Bo would have just concentrated on baseball? He would have played for a long time. He had serious bat speed. I mean, holy mother of...
Light tower stuff.
Oh. And he could turn on stuff. I mean, you couldn't... I mean, Nolan Ryan threw hard. And he would catch up with guys like that, and he would hit off-speed stuff 450 feet.
I think it's. I guess it was. No, never mind. It was Frank Thomas is who it was. Kellum sent me a bunch of box scores when I was doing that Swayze Field story a couple years ago, and he sent me his score sheets from games. It was Frank Thomas that he sent me some from. There was some with like him. There was some from like Tim Hudson and David Ross.
Yeah,
guys like that he come through during those eras. So anyway, yeah. Yeah, the NCAA baseball game was like the 2005 season. EA or whoever it was did an NCAA baseball game. Yeah, it was. I think it was 05.
Of course, EA is saying that what's going to be produced is not going to have any representation of like current players and stuff. That still has to be adjudicated.
They're not there yet.
And yeah, so the people that are like, oh, it's going to be in my mailbox tomorrow. No, it's going to be a minute. And then players are going to fight it. I don't know enough about all the programming stuff. That's way out of my realm.
Yeah, sure.
The people that are like, well, I can create the roster to create a Matt Corral and a Jerry Ely. And okay, good for you. I don't know how anybody does all that, but I mean, I'm sure
it's not default out of the box.
I'm sure it's doable, but you got to know what you're doing. And that's far more trouble than I'm willing to go to.
Yeah, well, no doubt about that. Podcast brought to you in part by Visit Oxford. Visit oxfordms.com. You can see where to stay, where to eat, do, and see in the events page. Events page, very important to let you know what's going on each week and each month in Oxford. So you can stop on by, bookmark it, and know from that point. Again, that is visit oxfordms.com/events.
We're also brought to you by Lammons Fine Jewelry. Lammons, located at 1126 North Lamar Boulevard in Oxford. It's been serving the Oxford area for 73 years. Get in touch with them at lammonsfinejewelry.com. Or call them at 662-234-2777. Whoops, I hit a wrong button. I apologize. We're also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you visit OUB, you get the customer service. You get the customer service that you don't get at the big chains, but you get all of the amenities and such that you get at the big banks. You also get Kasasa. It's the absolute best cash checking account with Kasasa. Customers get 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000, and ATM fees nationwide are refunded. It's liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. We're also brought to you by, I don't know, my computer's going crazy. I apologize. John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. I talked to John today. If you are looking to book some golf trips this summer, I had a question in the thread a minute ago about golf and when you're going to start playing and stuff. Get in touch with John. They've got some great deals at Streamsong. Is that what it's called down in Florida?
Between Orlando and Tampa?
Yeah, phenomenal golf packages that people are putting together right now because Florida's kind of open and there's a lot of travel that you can do there. He was telling me about people that are starting to book trips for 2022 to Europe. You can get the prices locked in now. So get in touch with him if you're thinking about doing something big that you want it to be special. get in touch with John, 901-494-3387, or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. We're also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust based in Madison, Mississippi. They're also home to the Pinnacle Trust 401k advisory services team that can conduct a complimentary, no-obligation benchmarking and analysis of your current 401k plan. Mention that you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the Oxford Exxon Podcast. You'll get 10% off of your first year's fees. And we're brought to you by the College Corner, your one-stop Rebel Shop. 2 locations in the Jackson area. You can also visit them at collegecornerstore.com. Plus, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. And we're brought to you by Comer Heating and Air. Comer Heating and Air, the name you can trust. More than 50 years of professional HVAC experience in Oxford, Tupelo, and the surrounding area. Make sure to call Comer Heating and Air for all your heating and cooling needs. 662-801-1777.
Super Bowl interest early on?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
beyond it just being the spectacle of it, though?
Yeah. I mean, I'm interested in how they pull off a Super Bowl where you can't pack the stadium. How do you make it feel like the Super Bowl where you don't have all the bells and whistles? But, yeah, it's still Tom Brady going for a non-Patriot Super Bowl. It's Mahomes going for another Super Bowl at the beginning of what looks to be a fantastic career where you wonder, hey, how many can he get? Yeah, I'm interested in all that. Kansas City without both starting tackles. A lot of pressure on Mahomes, who's normally a very mobile quarterback who's got a turf toe injury. Going to require Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy to be pretty creative. And then
Tampa's pretty good up front.
Tampa's pretty good.
That front seven defensively is good.
So, can a home team win a Super Bowl? Yeah, I'm interested, sure.
The line's even come down. Tennessee now at 3.5-point favorite over the Rebels tonight.
Don't do it, Neal.
Still coming down. Ken Palm predicting a 73-68 win. Is that right?
Yeah.
For Tennessee.
I just don't see how Ole Miss beats Tennessee on a basketball court this year.
Tennessee in the Ken Palm rankings is sitting at 15. Ole Miss is sitting at 66.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the first trip to Oxford for Tennessee since that when stuff got thrown on the court when they didn't call the foul or whatever at the end of the game?
Was that the Terrence
2 years
Davis
ago?
game?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah. For some reason, I think that's the case.
That was a hell of a game.
It was a little scary getting out of there. Like it got a little weird there for a few minutes.
Yeah, that place was up for grabs.
Yeah, it was. Yes. Sorry, I was 10 points off, which this would make sense the way Ole Miss and Tennessee play offense. 63-58, not 73-68. 63-58 is what Ken Palm says, giving Ole Miss a 36% chance of winning the basketball game.
36%?
Yeah.
What's Ken Palm's computers watching?
Ken Palm really likes Ole Miss's defense still, I think. Isn't that what it is?
I mean, if you say so. I'd give Ole Miss about a 6% chance. Don't give me the home court thing. That doesn't matter this year.
I'm just telling you, it says 36%.
There's no Terrence Davis on this floor. There's no Bree and Tyree knocking down shots on this floor.
Well, that's
and
fair.
Tennessee can defend your butt. I don't see it. I'll be honest. If you told me
Tennessee can go really cold offensively. That's the only.
So can Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Routinely.
I mean, they still have Ole Miss 24th nationally in defensive efficiency.
Okay. What are they offensively?
123.
Yeah.
That's actually higher than I thought, or better than I thought. Their adjusted tempo score is 305th nationally. They don't dictate tempo.
No.
Bog down.
Yeah, their offense gets that little three-man weave at the top, and there's nobody to punish from a shooting standpoint.
Field goal percentage for Ole Miss, effective field goal percentage 235. 3-point field goal percentage 333.
Georgia wants to know what's the Tennessee Moneyline.
Ooh. Is that the better?
I don't know. I don't like betting college
Well, it won't
basketball.
be enough because it's only 3.5.
Yeah.
You're not getting much value there.
College basketball's not. That's just not. It's not a good sport to bet.
No. It's one game with. I mean,
there were some good games in that Big 12 SEC thing. Oklahoma-Alabama was a great basketball game.
Most of them were good. There were 3 or 4
Yeah,
blowouts, but for the most part, it was pretty good. The money lines, the best. Yeah, so you can't get much here. The best Tennessee money line is -162.
Yeah,
You're just not getting anything there. Best Ole Miss money line, even worse. It's only 145.
No,
nothing.
No.
I need at least 220 to think about Ole Miss.
About it.
Yeah. 145. That makes no sense at all. Best over/under you can get 123.5 or 124.5, depending on which side you would like to get an extra point on.
I'd like the under, I think, but that's close. I'm not good at over/unders. It's not my specialty.
Yeah. So anyway, Ole Miss in Tennessee, 6 o'clock.
ESPN2.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. It will be glued in. You'll get 8 or 9 content items when the game is over, depending on a call-in show. And we'll
can you imagine?
We'll see where it goes.
The call-in show would be just like
you talking,
silence, me talking. I'd be like, Carson, can you come down and talk? He's like, I didn't watch it.
Yeah. So anyway, appreciate Blake giving us some time today. More as the week moves on. Normal schedule for us the rest of the time as we talk about whatever's going on there. Oh, signing day, normal show, normal time. There's only one dude. Yeah. Normal
show.
Typically, that's not the case, but a little different deal.
Maybe we'll be live when it does or doesn't happen. I don't know.
Yeah, either way. 1 o'clock tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Appreciate everybody on the live stream and on the podcast, and we'll talk to you again very soon.